Come up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. YouTube ad blocking busting is not going as intended. Elon has a new AI toy. We'll get into more detail on how that's going to go. Omegle is shut down, even though everyone thought it was gone for a while. And Apple tries to defend 8 gigabytes of RAM, and they do it very poorly. All that and more coming today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's 2 a.m. Go to bed already. This is Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. Yeah, you didn't expect that, did you? You didn't actually expect me to say it slowly and correctly. I caught you off guard, and you know it. Your mind has been absolutely blown. But yeah, I still can't believe as well, as I said in the intro, I can't believe Apple is actually trying to defend 8 gigabytes of RAM. We'll get into more detail on that, because that in itself is a hilarious I told you so. One thing that's important to say, especially when you're trying to win a war of information, is that when you are correct, you point out that yes, I was correct, and that this was incredibly stupid. But first, we need to talk about this interesting little tidbit. We will need to talk about the sale that has been the sale of a massive amount of information that has been shown thanks to the FTC. This actually goes to one of the brokers of information known as Kochava, which I have most likely mispronounced. I'm just gonna go on a limb. It is spelled Kochava. I am gonna pronounce it Kochava until someone is able to prove to me that it's spelled any other way. And since this is a pre-recorded podcast, except for those who are watching live, you can't do anything to correct me. So deal with it. But Kochava is one of the world's largest mobile data brokers. And it has in fact lost its battle to stop the FTC from revealing information that shows that in fact Kochava has collected and sold a massive amount of consumer data. Now, the exact amount we don't know yet. It is still being processed as to just how much has been sold, but it is in fact, it's staggering. It's absolutely staggering. And to show how much Kochava wants to go ahead and continue to show that they care about the consumer, they are trying to bar the FTC from digging into this further, rather than having any kind of transparency and saying, oh, this is a concerning issue and we want to go ahead and prove that we've done nothing wrong. Folks, I just want to remind you, all right? There's nothing you can do now, all right? Just putting that out there. In case you thought for a minute, oh my God, I need to go ahead and use my phone less. Yeah, it's too late for that. This data has already been collected and sent off. And I have been saying for a while that, in fact, with the way all these apps work, the amount of data they collect and the carrier can collect, it is staggering. One of the things you always need to keep in mind, we have said this about Facebook And I have said again and again and again, this applies to more than just social media. When a product is free, you are the product. Your use of Twitter is free? Guess what? You are the product. Your information is harvested and it's sold to advertisers. Fortunately, in the case of Twitter, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, which I'll continue to call Twitter, because if I say X, everyone's going to either think A, I am an Elon shill, or B, they're not going to know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to continue calling it Twitter because it's easier. It is going to be sold to ads on Twitter. That's just all there is to it. Which almost always the ads are horrendous. Although I say this and now I can't find... Wait, is Adblocker actually working on Twitter? Holy cow, I think Adblock is actually working on Twitter. Huh. Interesting. Twitter isn't $1? Someone in chat asks. No, currently Twitter is not $1. At this time, Twitter is still free. They did try to make it so that you had to pay $1. But in the case of Facebook, you pay nothing. Guess what? Your data is the product. Twitch is also free. Guess what? You're the product. Selling ads to you, taking a cut of sub revenue, taking a cut of bit revenue. That's how they make their money. That's how all of them make their money. When you look on your mobile phone, just think about this for a minute. How many apps on your phone do you pay for? I'm willing to bet for most of you, the answer is somewhere between 3 and 0. For most people, I'm willing to bet the answer is 0. There is probably not a single app on your phone that you have paid money up front for. Those developers had to get paid somehow. There's still exceptions to the rule. For example, I have a Super Nintendo emulator for Android that was developed as a passion project. I'm pretty confident they're not going to harvest my data. But if I look to other ones, yeah, I guarantee you, the YouTube app is harvesting my data. The Amazon app is probably harvesting data. All of it is harvesting data. If you are trying to use your phone as much as possible and you are concerned about privacy, you are either uninformed or just not thinking this through. Welcome to the world of mobile devices. Actually, just welcome to the world of technology in general. Your data is gathered at every turn, and there is a lot more about the internet that they know about you than you think. Shocker. That is the world we live in right now. That's the unfortunate truth. So, we'll see how this goes. I'm very curious to know exactly how much Kochava, who, by the way, is a mobile service provider. So, you know, they provide a metric ton of other services other than just harvesting data. So that's another problem in all this. But we'll see how it goes. We'll just see exactly how this all goes. Meanwhile, YouTube and their attempt to make sure that you continue to be the product in selling you ads is facing a problem. To get you up to speed, YouTube has been cracking down on ad blockers. In fact, most ad blockers will not work on YouTube anymore. We even saw, it was either last week or the week before, that there was a significant downtick of people uninstalling ad blockers because of this crackdown. Now, I thought there was more to the story, but at the moment, there wasn't much else to say about it. Now, it has since shown up that, in fact, one of the things that people are uninstalling ad blockers for is to install another one that might work. So there's a lot of that back and forth kind of going on here, of the ad blocker crowd trying to desperately find an ad blocker that does work. However, where there's an opportunity to go ahead and crack down on a big tech business for doing something, there is always the European Union trying to step in to claim privacy somehow. Yes, the European Union is trying to say that, in fact, YouTube's ad blocking crackdown infringes on privacy laws. I want to use this the next time. All right, here's what I'm going to do, all right? The next time I want to sneak into a movie theater, which I haven't been in a movie theater actually since, I think since the pandemic, now that I think about it. I think so. Huh. Anyway, let's pretend for a minute I want to sneak into a movie theater. If they catch me and throw me out, I'm just going to say that you're infringing on my privacy laws. I want to see how well that would fly. That's almost to the degree that they're trying to say. Now, what they're trying to say is that the ad blocker detection system is violating the user's privacy because the ad blocker detection is invading into the browser to see if certain add-ons are being run, and that is infringing on privacy. This is a terrible argument. I'm just going to say that right now. Think about any other aspect in life. Take this out of the digital world and then apply it. Like the European Union is pretty notorious for really bad arguments in trying to go after tech giants. But my God, this is a new low. This is a new bad logic. But of course, we'll just see how it goes. Someone in chat says it's just one guy filing a complaint. I do not believe it's just one. The article from The Verge says that only that one privacy expert by the name of Alexander Hanf filed a complaint in October. But the thing is that it's more than one guy looking into it. So don't welcome to The Verge, all right? They are awful at reporting things. That's just how they are. You might ask, why do I still use them? I'll be perfectly honest, it's because other news curators I use The Verge. Though I wish they'd stop. But no, it's more than one person. I can't remember the name of the people who have all filed complaints, but it is now something that the European Union is looking into. We'll see how long that goes. But as far as reasons to investigate go, this is one of the weaker ones. But while we're filling you with existential dread, I guess that's more related to the first one than the first story than the second one. Let's go into a new level of dystopian future. YouTube is launching tests of AI chatbots that answer questions about YouTube videos. I love just the amount of faith that tech giants have that AI won't hallucinate is incredible. You see, I don't know what it is. The moment anything would normally go even show a hint of potentially going politically incorrect, they would shut it down and burn it. But keep it, we're not even talking about ChatGPT, which has had a lot of testing and is getting better and better. This is going to be using Google's Bard that would answer questions about a video. Would you have any faith that it would answer correctly? How many times do you think that this kind of AI chatbot would be able to examine a video? And let's pretend it's a question that's not even in the video, all right? For example, I'm working on a video right now going over how I think I could save Criterion Dungeon in FF14. Like, what would I do about it? What if someone asked, hey, when do you think Dawn Trail is going to launch? The expansion for FF14. Do you have any faith that the chatbot would look at my video and be able to come up with a good answer? Probably not. I'm in fact willing to bet that the chatbot would make up something stupid. I can't stress this enough. All right. AI is very clearly at a point where it's interesting. All right. It is unique. It's different. But it is not ready for any kind of live production. The failure rate that AI has is too high. Like, think about this for a minute. Let's pretend that we're not talking about an AI chatbot. Let's pretend, for instance, we're talking about self-driving. Think about all the stories you've heard about an AI chatbot giving a horrendously bad answer. Or maybe you've played around with ChatGPT and then you just continue down the ChatGPT rabbit hole long enough that, in fact, eventually the chatbot starts to hallucinate and give you absolute nonsense that makes 100% no sense. What if instead of doing that, it was a car crash? Do you think that self-driving system would be put into place if it had the same failure rate as ChatGPT or Bard? I'm willing to bet it wouldn't. Someone in chat says Tesla says it's okay. Man, Tesla also thinks that panel gaps that are over an inch in difference is okay. There has been actual pictures going around right now of some comically bad gaps and defects in Cybertrucks that have been issued already. They are shoving that thing out in a 100% not ready fashion. And if they continue down this road, holy cow, it is going to be so terrible for Tesla. It's not even going to be funny. It really isn't. We'll get to Tesla more in a bit because they do have their own AI. But while YouTube is also going ahead and testing an AI generated chatbot to answer questions about a video, they're also testing out a feature so that the AI will summarize an entire comment section regarding a video so that content creators can get generalized feedback rather than going through the entire slew of the comment section. At least I trust content creators to look at the AI generated comment section and go, yep, that's useless. I do love the subheadline from Mashable, which is the article I'm using for this topic. Their subheadline is "Get the gist of the dumpster fire." That's pretty much it there. Do you really want to know more on a dumpster fire? I don't think you do. But here we are. Good job. Good job, YouTube. But wait, there's more. Because Google is also bringing generative AI to the one place you 100% do not want generative AI to go. They are bringing generative AI to the wrong hands. Who are the wrong hands, you might ask? What is this group that bringing AI to that Google could do is the worst possible group of people to give AI to? Can anyone guess? Anyone? No, stop raising your hands. This is a podcast. I can't see your hands. I literally can't. No. Someone in chat says the Bored Ape Yacht Club. That is not the worst. Someone else says chat. That's not it either. No. Google is bringing generative AI to the advertisers. I cannot think of a worse possible customer to give AI to, especially Google advertisers. Let me tell you something about advertising on Google. All right. First off, if you're a business and you're advertising on Google, you're doing it wrong unless it's on YouTube. Then you have a chance of it being useful, but probably not because you're gonna be flooded out by Hokai Star Rail or Temu. But just for a nanosecond, do you really realize the kind of people that buy Google advertisements? They're either A, people who just don't know any better and think that Google can help them get advertising out there, which, spoiler alert, no, they can't. Or B, They are people trying to buy their way onto the top of search results to get you to click a bad link. Yeah. Basically, scammers. Look. Google. I get you have a new toy. I get you want people to use your new toy because it's new and shiny, and unlike your competitor Microsoft, it's actually something you made rather than Microsoft just went ahead and took someone else's toy and practically took credit of it for themselves, but not really. I get you're super proud of it. But let me tell you this. If you are going to go ahead and put generative AI in the hands of your advertisers, you better, and I do mean this, you better do a much better job of curating who is buying ads from you. Because the amount of times that someone clicks a bad Norton link or a bad PayPal link or just straight up downloads malware because it was at the top listing of Google for a couple of days, you need to crack down on this, because you bring AI into this and freaking idiot scammers are just going to go ahead and generate their BS that much faster. I don't even care what the rest of the Verge article says here. I don't even care what the rest of the any article says about this. I already know who the customers are that use Google advertising. They can go ahead and say, oh, well, Google promises that they're going to go ahead and make sure that it's used for good. We're going to use AI for good. I've seen your links, Google. I've seen the kind of ads that get pushed out. Those of you who still get YouTube ads because you don't have a functional ad blocker yet. How many times have you gotten a good or a decent or a reputable company that advertised on YouTube? Or has it all been Temu? The data sucking, garbage slinging parasite that is Temu. That I guarantee you the first Temu ad I see on Twitter is going to try and sell something stupid. Oh yeah, here we go. $50 Nintendo Switch Lite for new users. Yeah, that's fake, by the way. Ooh, or better yet, a $9 handheld game console, which is a... yeah, it's a knockoff device. Someone in chat says they rarely see Temu. That's good. That's good. This is getting horrendous. Maybe that's why I see him more on Twitter. I decided to change motives. I just got a bad feeling about this. Someone else in chat says, near as I can say, I've gotten reputable ads. That's good. Again, great. Hopefully it stays that way. Meanwhile, though, ChatGPT actually did have a major outage, and OpenAI has blamed that on a DDoS attack, specifically on its backend, on its developer tools. And this has actually caused sporadic outages for almost a full day. So if you're trying to use OpenAI and you had a problem, guess what? That was probably it. This is one of the other things I want to kind of point out with this whole AI thing, okay? Like with any cloud service, if it is taken down by a DDoS, or actually to say if, when it's taken down by a DDoS attack, that means that service is unavailable. I have pushed again and again and again and again to say that these kind of features should be local on device. It's one of the reasons why me and 80% of North America kept saying no to frickin' Stadia. Couldn't have anything went down to the service. Oh, I guess I can't play. Oops. And then on top of that, when the service goes away, oh look, that feature on your device is gone. The reliance on cloud right now is one that is disgusting. And the fact that everything's moving to AI is just, it's annoying. At least there's moves to bring AI to your device and actually have these kind of calculations happen on device. But that is going to be years down the road. But let's pretend for a minute. All right, let's pretend that I now am a company that relies on OpenAI, on ChatGPT, to go ahead and write stuff because I fired all my writers because I'm an idiot. Well, I guess tomorrow's paper isn't getting out now because OpenAI has been off and on for over a day. That's not good for anyone now, is it? Yeah. Once again, yet another lesson in why things are not as good as you'd hope. Meanwhile, in other aspects of AI, just make you wonder why. We have the Lazy Apply AI bot that fills out job applications for you while you sleep. You know what's funny? Our place to work. I actually went ahead when we were trying to fill out positions. I used both an online application system and also an in-person. So you could go ahead and apply online, or you could apply in person on paper. Every single person that I hired through online or tried to hire never showed up for their interview, or they lasted like a week and then were a no call, no show for their second day. Every single person that currently works at my company right now was hired in person and filled out via paper, the old school way. Someone in chat asks, who is this for? I know exactly who it's for. And the fact that I know exactly who it's for is depressing. Do you want to know? This bot is for people who collect unemployment. I'm dead serious. A lot of states here in the United States have a law that says you cannot collect unemployment unless you provide proof that you're actively searching for a job. So, for example, I can't speak for other states, but here in the state of Wisconsin, if you are unemployed, you need to show that you have been applying to at least 2 jobs per week in order to continue to collect unemployment. Well, thanks to this robot, you don't have to do squat. I guarantee you this freaking bot is not for someone actively looking for a job. Because I'll tell you this right now. As an employer, if I'm sifting through a whole bunch of applications and I see anything that looks like it was freaking filled out with canned responses, I already know that that guy is not going to give his all when it comes to the position. If they're phoning it in on their application, I know they're going to phone it in on their actual job, and I'm not going to hire them. This is just, I can't express how much I hate this concept. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. Zolos in chat said it seems fair since employers use bot. I don't know many employers that use bots, but there might be larger companies that try to use like a first wave bot to go ahead and skim through like thousands of applications to make the actual people in charge of interviews to go ahead and then do their interview process. But then again, there was a story not too long ago, now that I think about it, that actually said that one company was going to be investing into AI for the hiring process. So I guess that shouldn't surprise me all that much. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, I want to talk about Grok. Do you know what Grok is? Oh, Grok is the latest thing in AI from Elon Musk. This is going to be good. We'll be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. All right. Someone in the chat brought to my attention a Reuters investigation. This is new news to me. Apparently, Reuters put out an investigation just a couple of days ago in regards to workplace injuries over at SpaceX. This is gonna be something that, if confirmed true, right now it's just Reuters reporting this. But apparently there's been at least 600 unreported workplace injuries. That's unreported. That means the reported ones have to be much higher. OSHA has gotten involved in regards to an employee that did die on the job site and cited multiple fairly minor infractions, but rather major just because OSHA brought them into it. OSHA, for those who are unaware, OSHA, or the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, is a federal wing of the government that pretty much gets in the way and pretty much wants everything to be done a very specific way for the safety of employees, and usually gets in the way of a lot of normal procedure. They are basically like, you ever been really annoyed by one of those buckle up alarms, but all you're doing is just like moving your car in the driveway? That is almost what OSHA is to the industrial place. Like we like, they go in, they exist for a good reason, right? They exist there specifically to make sure that companies are not abusing their employees. But they end up going in so strongly that it interferes with so much that nobody wants them around. But at the same time, they're necessary so that, you know, you don't have 600 freaking injuries that happen from crushed limbs, electrocutions, this, that, and the other thing. So the OSHA for me is in a very weird spot. But I do know that when they come in to investigate, if you give them any reason to sniff you out, they will come down like the fist of an angry god. Now, the thing is that OSHA only investigated back in 2014, according to the brief look over the Reuters article that I've just been given. Reuters is saying that there have been 600 injuries since then, including electrocutions, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not okay in any way, shape, or form. And quite frankly, as much as I dislike OSHA and the way they go in and basically come down like an angry god if you don't buckle up or go ahead and have the right color tape on your safety rail and other little ticky-tack things, if there is a time, if what Reuters is saying is correct, this would be a time for OSHA to come down like the fist of an angry god on a company that very clearly kind of deserves it, because this is not okay. And again, that's the unreported ones. They're including more than 100 workers suffering cuts or lacerations, 29 with broken bones or dislocations, 19 whose hands or fingers were crushed, and 9 with head injuries, and 1 skull fracture, 4 concussions, and 1 traumatic brain injury. The cases also included 5 burns, 5 electrocutions, 8 accidents that led to amputations, and 12 injuries involving multiple unspecified body parts. I want to joke about that. Like, I'm not gonna lie. The inappropriate comedian in me really wants to go ahead and make a few inappropriate jokes about that, but that would be in very poor taste. And then to finish it off, there were 7 workers with eye injuries and over 170 reports of strains and sprains. We're gonna follow this up next week. I assume more people are going to be looking into this, and I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of follow-up. This could be a big yikes moment, especially if OSHA gets involved again. Someone in chat says the CEO must be the one with the head injury. Oof. Considering there's been at least 1 recorded fatality, I don't want to joke about it too much. Instead, let's go to something that Elon made that I can joke about. Let's talk about Grok, the AI model named after the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Ah, yes. That's what we need. We need X with X.AI to introduce a new large language model. And Grok is designed, according to X.AI, to answer questions with a bit of wit, as it has a rebellious streak. So please don't use it if you hate humor. Uh-huh. Grok is an AI model after Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so intended to answer almost anything. Far harder, even suggests what questions to ask. Why am I getting the feeling that the please don't use it if you hate humor line is pretty much just to say, oh, what's that? It told you to make fragrant water by mixing ammonia and bleach? Oh, that's a funny joke. Someone in chat said it's not Hitchhikers, it's Stranger in Stranger Lands. Don't look at me, it's freaking X. X called it that. Literally the first line says, Grok's an AI model modeled after Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't correct me, correct them. I personally could care less, because let me tell you, I am so sick of large language models. Because so many of the, first off, LLMs are not AI. Please stop calling them AI. I am getting very sick of every time I turn around a new freaking large language model being called artificial intelligence, and then goes ahead and strings a whole bunch of random letters together and goes like, I smart. I just want these large language models people to just finally acknowledge, you know, maybe, just maybe it's not ready yet. Someone in chat said whoever wrote this didn't read. That would be the XAI team. The XAI team apparently doesn't read. I'm amused that this really bothers one person in chat and not the fact that it's, you know, yet another LLM that is trying to go ahead and say it's humorous when it's comically incorrect. I mean, look. More and more of what Elon tries to make happen has been falling flat on its face. And quite frankly, I'm just going to go ahead and just whip up another batch of popcorn and just watch this one. Also, go ahead and try to push out that you can go ahead and make some kind of who knows what, and it's fragrant water. Yes. I'm sorry, I can't let the fragrant water thing go. That's just absolute. It's just, I just can't even. But we're just going to move on from that. Meanwhile, in other AI news, OpenAI has announced new things, including GPT-4 Turbo with 128K context, a new assistance API, GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, and DALL-E 3, among more and more things. Excellent. I cannot wait to see a handful more just an infinite number of more random things being based on ChatGPT and turning out to be both the most amazing thing in the world and the most horrible thing in the world at the exact same time. How many of you have full trust that this is going to be amazing? Because I'm willing to bet the answer is like none. I imagine, like most people, we are getting absolutely sick of AI. Someone in chat says define amazing. That's a very good question. That's a very good question. We'll just have to wait and see how this all goes down. But I just... to me, it feels obvious that AI is not ready for prime time. But my God, I have not seen a beta product shoved out so quickly as ChatGPT has, or any AI for that fact. People realize this is the new frontier in technology, and we are rushing for it, even though this cake is still raw in the middle. Meanwhile, in another part of the AI world, we have Xbox partnering up with in-world AI that will go ahead and empower game creators to use the potential of generative AI for developing game worlds. I have a question for why? I know the easy answer as to why. All right, the easy answer. It's you use AI, save money on developers. Easy. Replace human jobs with machines. Easy. All right, that's the easy, thoughtless corporate answer. Okay. What's the practical reason for doing this? Have you seen the way AI just goes insane? Have you seen the way in which AI just absolutely loses its mind? Have you seen AI art? I will give AI art some credit. The way it draws the human hands is the most abstract, strange way I've ever seen. It's incredible. But unless you're trying to make a very abstract game that makes it feel like you're on drugs, what is the actual point? And quite frankly, also, if you're actually into the type of games that make you feel like you're that your game developer was on some kind of drugs when developing it, I got news for you. Leave it to the game developers that are actually on drugs to make those kind of ones. Those are far more interesting. What was that light game where the weird figures were plugging into each other? I'm sorry, that's... Anyway. I have very little faith that AI is going to be a crucial step in really any kind of development. All right. I feel that the human hand is going to be far better in AI and game development than any AI would. Now, I could see some instances where AI could be useful in inside an actual game. I could see it being very interesting in the future of RPGs. I really can. But if there's one thing I want to grind into everyone's head again and again and again and again and again and again and again, it's simply this. AI is not anywhere near as ready as people think it is. It's that simple. Look, I get it. It's a cool toy. There has been a lot of interesting, quirky, meme-worthy things that AI has done. But let me tell you something. That does not mean it's ready for any kind of actual production, in my humble opinion. And until we start seeing success out of AI in the degree that we put pretty much anything else on the globe to, I'm going to keep shouting that AI is not ready yet. It's just that simple. AI is not ready to go ahead and create interesting and consistent dialogue for a character in an RPG. It's not ready to go ahead and develop a world. It's just not ready yet. Meanwhile, in other concerning things regarding the future, I think that's going to be the kind of segue we go here from AI to just the future in general. I want to talk about smart homes for a minute. Who here knows what a smart home is? Now stop raising your hand. I can't see you raising your hands. A smart home, for those who don't know, is where certain things of your home are controlled automatically and thus made to seem smarter. Like, say, a light switch that turns on when it detects motion. I actually see this quite a lot in commercial environments. Or a thermostat that intelligently adjusts its temperature based on how many people are home and based on the temperatures outside. Those kind of things. Or a garage door that automatically opens as you get closer to home. Like, say, if I'm a block away, the garage door would automatically open so that by the time I pull up to my house, the door is open. I don't have such a thing. I live in an apartment and I park outside, so that's all irrelevant. But we're going to stick to the theme of garage doors because my Q garage door just showed a major problem with smart homes. Right now, a lot of smart homes is controlled in the cloud. And if there's one thing you know about me and the cloud, it is the fact that I do not like the cloud. Mostly because, well, it's something I don't have control over. And, well, considering the fact that no one makes a universal standard for all smart homes, it's pretty much a hodgepodge of everyone supporting a standard. Well, you end up with something like this, where my Q, which is a Chamberlain company, has been blocked from the smart home systems of Homebridge and Home Assistant. Meaning, if you went ahead and set up your entire smart home, that you went ahead and spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on this infrastructure for this modern convenience, you just got hosed. Yikes. Now, the reason is not sure at this time, but what's ended up happening is that Chamberlain has found that they are being unauthorized to access the APIs and are looking to try and improve the performance and reliability of it with their authorized partners. This is absurd. If I went ahead and actually had this whole thing set up, I would be pissed. Absolutely pissed. This would be beyond infuriating if you were such a person that had this whole thing set up. Like, I'm all for competition in the smart home space, but this kind of nonsense really does kind of make everyone that just goes, you know, I just want a light switch. I don't want to go ahead and say, I'm trying to think of a keyword I could say and not trigger someone's smart assistant. Like, what do you say anymore? I'd say computer, but unfortunately my alarm clock is an Echo Show with that not you. You see, future. Maybe that's why frickin' ChatGPT hallucinates. It just suddenly realizes it needs to select its words very carefully or it triggers someone's smart assistant. What a great feature. Just suddenly have your garage door never open again. You know what is more reliable than AI and the cloud? History. And Waze is finally adding crash history. So if you're using Waze to go ahead and navigate around, it will warn you ahead of time now, as a new feature, if an upcoming intersection has a history of crashes. Now, of course, these crashes could be circumstantial. It could be just something really stupid and say like, oh my God, there were 100 crashes here. And like one drunk guy ran into a bike rack of unmanned bikes and just report 100 crashes that way. It could be something stupid like that, but it is still something very useful. Like, let's say I'm going through an unfamiliar neighborhood and I want to make sure that the intersection I'm going up to is, you know, not one that's badly done. I can actually think of a couple in my area that are actually notorious for crashes. That just people feel for whatever reason, hey, I can gun that yellow light. No, you can't. You know what's going to happen when you do? Someone's going to gun it the other way and catch you. And get you every single time. So, I gotta say this much. What took GPSs this long? This is actually a really helpful feature, and I wish this came out eons ago. But while Waze being around forever and adding new features is good news, I have bad news for people. My friends, the easiest way for YouTubers to make content is now gone forever. Whenever content creators wanted to just very quickly make a YouTube video for laughs, they would go ahead and go to one specific site. and then act like a douche lord or an idiot for laughs in front of perfect strangers. That avenue is now gone forever. Friends, Omegle is no more. And you would never guess why it's being shut down. I'm lying, of course. You know exactly why it's being shut down. Come on, you know exactly why. Omegle's being shut down because people were using it to do very, very bad things. Like, people have been using Omegle to do very, very bad things from, I don't know, day one. I'll give them credit. I thought Omegle shut down like a decade ago. Like, who here thought that Omegle was going to last more than like a year? When I first heard about Omegle, way back in the day, I figured, yeah, about a year or two. From 2009 to 2023, for 14 years, Omegle ran. For those who don't know, first off, congratulations, you are pure and innocent. Omegle, which I heard one person said it was pronounced Omegle. I don't know how they got that, but in any case, Omegle was a service in which you would go into the chat system, you would be paired up with perfect strangers, random people, and you'd chat. Inevitably, you can guess what would happen. You would find someone showing something inappropriate. It's what's going to happen every time. And quite frankly, people were then going ahead and using it because, well, to then show incredibly heinous stuff. The founder of Omegle did put out a massive letter. And I do mean a massive one. It would probably take me about a half hour to read it. That's actually on the Omegle site. You can go ahead and find it if you want. And I'll say this much. The creator of Omegle genuinely did want people to just get more friendly with each other. They genuinely wanted people to just be friends. Like, he was very honest in what he wanted to do. So, a chunk of internet history is gone forever. I know there was a couple Omegle clones that have been around. I have no idea how many of them are still up. I imagine none of them, considering what the service ended up eventually being used for anyway. But all we can do now is look at Omegle and say, good night. You were a very strange service, but you definitely did exist. Why? We have no idea. I think at that moment, it's a good time to take a break. And when we come back, let's talk about how the court has ruled that automakers can just do whatever they want with your data. Why? I don't know. They just can now. We'll be back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. Yep. The court case involving whether automakers can record and intercept an owner's text message and record all that data has come down in favor of the automakers. A federal judge refused to look at a class action lawsuit looking at four auto manufacturers that violated Washington state's privacy laws involving onboard infotainment systems. This was against, well, what do we got here? Honda, Toyota, Volkswagen, and General Motors. So, oh boy. Automakers can just continue to intercept that data. I don't know if there's going to be if they can appeal the decision or where it's going to go, but as of right now, if you are paranoid about your data, I got bad news for you. You cannot trust your car. That is the world we live in now. Everything is spying on you. Even your car. Isn't that great? Meanwhile, in other court news, Epic v. Google has started today. This, if you completely forgot like I did, is the fight that Epic started first with Apple and then lost, but then simultaneously they started one against Google as well at the same time, which is what simultaneous means. Don't worry, I'm not being redundant, you are. And this is about the 30% cut. So for those of you who were sick of Epic versus Apple, guess what? We get to do it again! And this time it's with Google. The company in which there's even harder case to make. Folks, I'm just going to let you know now. If Epic wins this, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. They have a worse case in this one than they did with Apple. They're not going to win this. If Epic does win this, it does mean they're going to go against Apple again. I almost guarantee you. Because you're going to have that ruling as a new standard for this whole thing. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if they're able to do anything about it. I have some serious doubts. However, there is some interesting information that did come of it, such as Google paid Activision Blizzard almost $360 million to launch its game on the Play Store. Also, Google offered Epic $147 million to launch Fortnite on the Play Store. And Google rejected apps for steering or pointing any other way to pay outside of the App Store. The Play Store makes more than $12 billion per year for Google, but the Epic Game Store isn't profitable at all, and Google offered Netflix a special deal, and that also apparently Spotify may have gotten one too. This special deal was that Netflix would only get hit with a 10% cut instead of a 30% one. We'll see how this goes, but considering the fact that the court ruled in favor of Apple and Apple has a tighter monopoly than Google does, it's not looking good for Epic. In any case, let's move on to our next topic here. Another wonderful little weird sign that we're in a dystopian future. Amazon is offering Prime members low-cost primary health care. What? I'm not gonna lie. I forgot all about this. Be honest. You forgot about this too. That Amazon said they plan on offering healthcare to the average consumer. And in fact, they now are, for as low as $9 per month or $100 per year on top of your existing Prime memberships. Now, the actual coverage of this at this point, I don't believe the article here from The Hill, it goes into much more detail than this, but oh my God. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel. In fact, if it turns out the saving grace from the hot mess that is the American healthcare system is going to be flipping Amazon. I'm not sure how I'd feel about that. Granted, I don't have a whole lot of opinions about the healthcare system just because well, first of all, I'm not a doctor. Second, I don't fully comprehend all the reasons why healthcare is so blasted expensive. It is one giant rabbit hole that everyone seems to have an opinion on, but nobody can really cite real facts. And it's just one giant hot mess. But at the same time, $9 a month seems decent. It seems pretty affordable. On the downside, it's Amazon. It's just, oh my God. Have you seen the way Amazon runs things? How drivers can't even catch in a bathroom break? About how hard they go ahead and go through employees at distribution centers? How much they try to go ahead and cut costs at every way, shape, and form at the cost of basic decency or functionality in its systems? It is just a hot mess. But at the same time, I'm a subcontractor for multiple hospitals in my area, where in fact you have tons of administrators at the top that don't know how their own facilities run, that in fact only care about trying to, quote, save a buck, but end up making terrible decisions just to go ahead and throw their buddy a bone, get paid tons of money by making bad decisions, and basically do the bare minimum to get by. So, I mean, there's The American health system, here's what I do know. I am not qualified to speak about what is and isn't wrong with the American health system. I see a lot of problems. I don't know very many solutions. I know enough to know I don't know the answer. But there is something about Amazon offering healthcare in the form of a monthly payment to people already paying a monthly payment that just it feels wrong. It feels really wrong. But the amount they're charging, I know, is lower than a lot of people's premiums. But I felt you should know. This whole thing, that when it first came out, I said there is no way they're going to do this. That seems really weird. They're going to run into some low roadblock that kills it. I was wrong. It's moving forward. And it has a price now. And that's really weird. I feel like I need to go watch some dystopian sci-fi movies and figure out how many of them are going to be correct. Or is Amazon just the new Skynet? That's going to be the new... Excuse me. That's going to be the new measure of a person. Which tech giant is the new Skynet? In other news, in the storage world, Western Digital is going to be splitting their company in half between the hard drive market and the flash market, mostly because Western Digital's flash market is doing poorly. Someone in chat says, don't get me wrong, the one instance I had turned to private healthcare here, and they mean Canada, has been an absolute boon to me. Only because it's about gender reaffirming care, and institutionalized transphobia is a very worldwide problem where private healthcare actually shines. If you can hunt down the right doctors, private healthcare can be useful, but gods, it needs to not be the norm. The US is proof of that. It goes even deeper than just being private healthcare, because it's not just the fact that it's just, you know, you go with this specific provider. It's also, you need to, because it's unaffordable, you need to go through an insurance provider on top of that, which then networks you in all of this nonsense to where you can and can't go. So you don't even get the usefulness of a private. It's awful. Like I said, it's awful. It's a problem. I don't know the solution. But I am glad to hear about it. I'm glad to hear that there is occasionally good news within the healthcare world. I don't even know who you'd go to for that kind of info. It just feels like a massive Pandora's box. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Western Digital. They're splitting up between hard drives and flash drives. The end. More likely, you know what's going to happen? The flash drive division is going to go under. I don't know what it is with Western Digital and flash storage. They just don't do well, like, at all. But speaking of other things being manufactured, let's actually get back into tech. MediaTek is announcing a new CPU that's going to go head to head with the new Snapdragon 8, but MediaTek's new CPU for mobile is doing something different. They are going backwards in CPU technology. They are using big CPU cores only. For those of you who don't understand what that means, ARM CPUs, that's CPUs that are used in your mobile devices, use what is called a big little architecture. Meaning that you have a mix of low power, low end, and low performance efficiency cores and big honking giant CPU cores. This means when you're doing something simple like browsing the web, you can just tap on the efficiency cores and go through it and not suck your battery life. But then when you fire up Genshin Impact like you shouldn't be doing, it has the big cores to go ahead and tackle that big project. For the longest time, laptops and desktops have been using big cores only. Both Intel and AMD CPUs have been doing that. Lately, we've been seeing Intel switch to a big little architecture. AMD is working on their big little architecture. Intel's been doing big little for 2 years now, I want to say, something like that, and have been getting better and better at developing big little CPUs. It's also why when you look at the core count of Intel CPUs, it seems really, really weird. Because what they're doing is that they're counting all of their CPU cores. So they're counting, the 4 efficiency cores along with their 8 performance cores to give you a 12-core CPU. When in reality, it's an 8-core CPU. Because when it comes to your performance, when it comes to multi-core performance, you care about the big processors. You're not going to care nearly as much about the little processors that perform at like 1/10 the performance of the big ones. But you do care about the little ones, especially in a laptop, because it does mean you're not sucking all the power to do something like open the start menu. So to see MediaTek kind of go backwards and go big only, I gotta ask, what's gonna be the battery life of this phone? Are you gonna be pushing this into what appears to be Chinese smartphone makers? Are you gonna get Chinese phones that run basically 8 hours? This is a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. I guess time will tell, but I don't have a whole lot of hope for this line of working. In other mobile news, Qualcomm has killed any hope for Android phones to catch up with iPhones in terms of connectivity. Qualcomm has killed the Snapdragon satellite chips in their newer CPUs. So for those who don't know, iPhones have the ability to send an emergency signal via satellite in case you hit in case of emergencies. Android phones don't have this feature yet. And by the looks of it, since Qualcomm basically makes all of the smartphone APUs, or not APUs, but SoCs, it looks like no Android phone ever is going to have this feature. So, yeah, that's not great at all. It's unfortunate. It really is. It's kind of funny. You're going to see now between the ultra rugged Apple Watch Ultra and now this feature, the super adventurous off the grid types are now pretty much going to look at iPhone as the only option, despite the fact there are actually some very rugged, very high-end Android phones out there that'd be perfect for that market. Alas, no such luck. Big missed opportunity for Android, but I guess you're going to do what you got to do, right? Meanwhile, though, apparently some Macs with the M3 chips have been showing up with an old, non-updatable version of Mac OS. Zone in chat says, what if Apple murders the satellite feature in their sleep? I don't think they will. Unless something gets in the way that says they can't go ahead and use that feature, like the satellite company shuts down, they're going to keep that going for as long as possible. Apple's not like Google, where they just sunset a feature just because. The number of times Apple has done that is few and far between. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But yeah, new Macs are showing up with unupdatable macOS versions. Apparently, if you're having this, you should go ahead and just go to a Genius Bar and have this taken care of. But the fact that this is even happening at all, oh my God. That is infuriating. It's bad enough that M3 Macs have an option where your device is basically e-waste from the get-go. But this is incredible. They're just going to go ahead and ship an outdated operating system on top of that. But, of course, everyone, myself included, then looked at Apple and said, wait a minute, you're charging us $1,600 for these new devices that have 8 gigs of RAM in it. How do you find that acceptable in this day and age? Oh, well. Are you ready for a good old-fashioned Apple excuse? In a recent interview, Apple VP of Worldwide Product Marketing, Bob Borchers, has directly responded to the criticism that, in fact, a brand new device should not have only 8 gigs of RAM. I strongly believe this just because I have now junked out a laptop that only has 8 gigabytes of RAM because it simply could not, under any circumstances, do the task that the user needed. It just couldn't do it, period, bar none. It just couldn't do it at all. So, is Mac that much different? Well, let's read the entire statement verbatim together. Bob Borchers says, and I will interject as I deem necessary. The response begins. Comparing our memory to other systems' memory actually isn't equivalent because of the fact that we have such an efficient use of memory and we use memory compression and we have unified memory architecture. Let me interject. No, you don't. You want to know how I know you don't use memory compression? RAM is not something you ever compress. Okay? When you are putting data into RAM on a computer, you are not compressing it because that adds another layer to your speed. All right? whenever the computer puts something into RAM, they want it to access it instantly. If you're going to compress it, you might as well shove it onto the SSD. So if you are in fact using this super fast memory and by the way, Mac memory isn't like normal memory, okay? I can go ahead and pull out RAM sticks out of most computers. Unfortunately, the laptop that I mentioned earlier that I junked out, I couldn't because they soldered the RAM onto the motherboard. Apple RAM is actually integrated into the CPU chip itself. The RAM is as close to the CPU as possible. If you think for a second that you're going to go ahead and waste that speed compressing and decompressing, you're an idiot and you're leaving performance on the table when, in fact, you are trying to go ahead and claim again and again and again that you have the fastest chip in the world and you're hindering it by using memory compression? Bull pie! I call complete BS. That is like saying, oh, don't worry about the fuel efficiency of my car. I shove a potato into the tailpipe of it so that the gas doesn't escape. It's almost that stupid of a statement. What's another horrible oh, I pulled out half the spark plugs in the engine so it uses less gas. You do not use memory compression. If Apple does use memory compression, their engineers are stupid. The statement continues. Actually, 8 gigabytes on an M3 MacBook Pro is probably analogous to 16 gigabytes on any other systems. We just happen to be able to use it more efficiently. Let me interject. I think that they are slightly more efficient on this. I believe Apple is probably a little more efficient than Windows devices when it comes to memory usage, just because a lot of memory usage on PCs is in fact due to the fixes they've had to do to prevent a lot of these hardware-based CPU vulnerabilities. You know, the ones with the catchy names that I can't think of off the top of my head. Spectre, Meltdown, Cache Out, all those sort of things. A lot of the memory usage is to stuff like that, or just used to Chrome in general. I do believe there is some efficiency gain there. It is not double. Not by any stretch of the imagination is it double. The statement continues. And so what I would say is that people come in and try what they want to do on their systems, and they will, I think, see incredible performance. Let me interject. Just come on into an Apple store and try whatever you'd want to do, and you'd see incredible performance. All right. I'm going to go ahead. Grab my lighting rigs, grab my camera, grab a flash drive with Mac compatible OBS. We're going to go ahead and stream with my PS5 down in an Apple store because this clown went ahead and said, just try it on one of our Macs and you'll see incredible performance. All right, let's see it. Let's see your performance with OBS. I want to see this. I want to see it go ahead and tackle everything I do here with my workstation incredibly. And let's see it do it with 8 gigs of RAM compared to the, how much am I running on this system here? How much are we using? Oh yeah, 64 gigabytes. Actually, how much RAM are we using at this second? We are using 16.1 gigabytes. Okay there, bud. Let's see that. That'll be incredibly entertaining. The statement continues. If you look at the raw data and capabilities of these systems, it really is phenomenal. And this is the place where I think people need to see beyond the specs and actually go look beyond the capabilities and listen to trusted people like you who have actually used the systems. People need to look beyond specifications and actually go understand how that technology is used. That's the true test. That is from Apple's VP of Worldwide Production Marketing, Bob Borchers. Well, here's what I have to say about that. That's all well and good. But here's the thing. The average person cannot afford $1,600 for a MacBook Pro to go ahead and try it. And I guarantee you, if I went down, plugged in a flash drive, installed OBS and my entire streaming setup into a MacBook Pro and tried to see how well it went ahead and rendered out an entire stream, I guarantee you I would be thrown out. I guarantee it. No one in their right mind would let that sort of thing happen. So thus, I would have to go ahead and do the next intelligent thing. I would have to look at benchmarks. And lo and behold, you know what the benchmarks say? Because the benchmarks don't lie. The benchmarks show that no, 8 gigabytes is not enough, you freaking idiot. What the hell were you smoking? Serious? What did you think was going to happen? Did you think for a moment we were just going to go ahead and go, oh, yeah, 8 gigabytes is plenty? No, the bloody thing goes into swap nearly immediately. But of course, Apple has a very, very fast storage controller, and going into swap wouldn't be that. Do people know what I mean when I say it goes into swap? Going into swap means that the computer tries to put stuff into memory, the memory is full, and thus it has to go into storage. It has to go to the much slower, much further away solid state drive, or if you're really unlucky, goes to a hard drive, and your system comes to a screeching halt. As it goes ahead and tries to swap between storage and memory. Going to the swap is not as big a deal because SSDs are much faster than hard drives. But here's the thing. Going to swap means that you're putting reads and writes on your SSD at a very rapid pace. And believe it or not, there is a finite number of times you can read and write to your SSD. So you're putting more wear on your SSD and bring it to a failure much, much, much sooner than you would on pretty much any other device. No, the 16 gigabyte version of the MacBook Pro is vastly superior to the 8 gigabyte version of the MacBook Pro. It's not even close, and it's obvious. This is obvious to anyone who thought this over for, like, I don't know, 7 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. More RAM is more better. This was not a hard thing to come to the conclusion of. We're gonna power through here real quick because we are actually very quickly running out of time for this podcast because we have things we need to get to. So we're actually going to push ahead to Well, we're going to touch the new Steam Deck. Actually, no, I take that back. I actually am going to talk very briefly about even more rumors regarding the RTX 40 series Super. It does look more and more likely that we are going to get super variants of the RTX cards. And it looks like CES of 2024 is going to be when we're going to see them. Who's excited for this? Everyone, raise your hand if you're really excited for this. I wasn't raising my hand. I was reaching for my mug. How long ago did the RTX 40 series launch? It feels like forever ago that it launched. Someone in chat says, I can't see you anyway. How do you know you you didn't? I don't even need to see you to know this. You didn't. Yeah, this stuff came out 2 years ago. This would be about when you would see a new generation, right? It is looking more and more likely that we're going to be in the 40 series for a bit longer, probably a full year longer. I'll just say this right now. I don't care. If this means that we're going to get more overpriced cards for a little bit longer, so what? I just want some cards to be affordable. We still don't have a 4050. There is not an affordable 40 series card out there for the masses. And no, the 4060 is not affordable. I'm sorry, it's not. But here's the kicker. If you try to look up 4050, they're going to say it does exist, but it's only on laptops. What else can you say? More unaffordable GPUs. They're all going to cost north of $500. And what's even better is that they're going to be using the high power connector. And yes, they are still melting. Do you want to go ahead and pay $500 for a fire? Raise your hand if you want to do that. Don't do that. Stop trying to raise your hand. I thought I taught you better. This is... I just can't even. These connectors continue to melt. It's a defective connector, and they still insist on using them. It's... Just stop. Stop. Please. Pretty please. But, you know, NVIDIA's just going to keep on rolling with it. Meanwhile, though, there is a hardware refresh that is interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a new Steam Deck. And I actually do mean a new Steam Deck. There's the new Steam Deck OLED. And believe it or not, this is actually a more meaningful upgrade than the Switch OLED. So inside the Steam Deck OLED, we have an OLED screen. It actually is bigger, but the form factor is still the same because the bezels only got bigger. The guts, everything inside the Steam Deck is completely upgraded, changed, and made to be both more cost effective, more upgradable, and those self-tapping screws, the thing that I didn't like in the Steam Deck and was one of the two reasons why I didn't get the original Steam Deck. I didn't want the original Steam Deck because of the self-tapping screws, that if you unscrew it enough, it's just going to go ahead and ruin the plastic. But also, I have a policy of just never buying first-gen hardware. I'll get the first revision out of the first-gen hardware. You know, for first-gen hardware, the Steam Deck is pretty good. The OLED version now just does everything that the original Steam Deck did, except better. More efficient with its memory. It's easier to get into. It's more sustainable to get into because it's not self-tapping screws. It is just better. And what's even better, that 64 gigabyte variant at $400 is gone. The starting point for the Steam Deck now is $400 for the 256 version that is using an NVMe SSD. That is still using the first generation hardware. After that is a half a terabyte with the newer hardware that does include a die shrink down to 6 nanometers, but is still looking at the same kind of performance, even though first initial benchmarks show a little bit of a performance increase, but don't count on it. But in addition, has a bigger battery, as well as upgraded Wi-Fi as well. And then, of course, there's the 649 version, which has a 1 terabyte SSD in it. I actually kind of want the new OLED Steam Deck, I'm not going to lie. I don't know when I'm going to be able to swing it, but this is now something that not only can I recommend for others, but I would actually put my money where my mouth is. The original Steam Deck was kind of it looks good, it sounds good. I don't know if I would do it, but you know, anyone who hasn't is happy with it, good for them. This is now something I want it. I actually want it now. In other news, Nintendo, for reasons that scientists cannot explain, is making a live action Zelda movie. I don't know why, but they are now. Who's looking forward to this? I don't know what to think about this. Like, I have never, ever thought that The Legend of Zelda needed a movie, like, at all. But I guess, you know, it worked for Nintendo. I mean, it worked for Nintendo. It worked for Mario. That movie was a hit. I still need to see it, though. It worked for Sonic. I mean, why not? Sona Chat says it worked for the CDI Zeldas. It did not. Do not listen to him. He is a crazy person. In other news, there is some bad news. Twitter integration is being removed from the PS4 and the PS5 on November 13th. It is a very tragic day for everyone that wants to brag about their trophies. Anyway, we're going to move on to, I'm actually going to save the Golden Joystick Awards for next week. But, should I actually say a few words about, do people not know why Sony is dropping Twitter integration? Do people not know? I can tell you why right now. It's the API costs. It's the API costs. In case you didn't know. It's because Elon increased the API costs. Sony doesn't care enough now. Kind of like people don't care about NFTs But I do actually feel a little bad for NFT holders, because the people who went to a NFT convention, specifically by Bored Ape, found out that people were being cooked. Literally being cooked by UV lights. And in fact, 15 people have been reported to have eye burns caused by UV lights in the convention center. Folks, this isn't okay. This is not okay. Like, I kind of want to laugh because there's a bunch of idiots that went ahead and paid millions for pictures of monkeys. But at the same time, it's no reason to try and disinfect them and burn them with UV lights. And no matter how you look at it, there's actually a bit of, in the gaming world, a bit of talk right now of who had the better convention. Final Fantasy 14 and their 2 fan fests, or BlizzCon. You know what? There's a lot of things that can go wrong at a convention. But I'd say, without a doubt, the Bored Ape people had... They clearly had the worst convention, because the convention hall literally went ahead and actually tried to inflict bodily... Do not be surprised when this ends up in some kind of lawsuit. Although, considering the fact that this happened in China, I'm willing to bet nothing's going to actually happen to them at freaking all. But with that said, my friends, I bring you to the last burb, the last story of the day, the weirdest story of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, former designers at Apple have created the future. Do you know what that future is? I can tell you what that future is. The future is a pin. It is a pin roughly the size of an Apple Watch head that attaches to your suit with a camera on it that doesn't use any apps, as they say, and uses AI and a projector to go ahead and answer any questions you have on the fly. You go ahead and hold up some nuts to your pin, and it'll tell you how many calories are in it, using some kind of speaker. In fact, it uses a projector. So when it wants to display information, you can hold out your hand and it'll project the image of the information onto your hand using a laser projector. Well, I'm just going to tell you that the Humane AI pin is going to launch apparently next year. I'm just going to tell you this right now. This is the most vaporware thing I have seen in a long time. And quite frankly, there is no way that this thing is going to go anywhere. You know what's even better about this? The only information I can get about this thing is a video on it. And you want to know where the video is? Just for the maximum amount of trustworthiness in this company. The only video of this is on Vimeo. That's how you know it is a trustworthy source. I'm just gonna tell you this right now. This is clearly the future. I take back everything I've said about AI. It is clearly the future. This pin has shown me everything. Even though one of their key founders, of which I am not sure if he is of African American or Indian heritage, or possibly both, really does look like he desperately needs a good night's sleep. Holy cow. This guy really needs a nap. Folks, that is going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for watching. Someone in chat says this is the future they've been hoping for. No, it's not. You think it is, but it's not. We can't even get AI right now to not try to gas us. But check out my other works, twitch.tv/EagleFalcon and youtube.com/EagleFalcon. Take care and have a great day. Here's what I really want to know. Why didn't they just make this a watch? Like, holy cow, this thing sticks out like a sore thumb. Or they just really want the laser projector. So do I have to explain why the laser projector is a really bad idea? Long exposure to lasers on skin can cause skin damage. In fact, a bracelet tried to go ahead and use a laser projector to display a while back. It was called the secret bracelet. Guess what? It went nowhere because it was impossible to do. This is great in a movie, but yeah, this is not great. Someone in chat asked, does this thing have a headphone? What do you think? It's from former Apple engineers. Of course it doesn't have a headphone jack. It doesn't even have a charging jack. It barely hit. Oh, it does have a speaker though. Okay, never mind. It has a speaker. All right, give him just sign me up now. It has a speaker. We're in.